Swing It With Winget. Well, welcome to another episode of Swing It With Winget. I've got a real special guest today. Not only is he an amazing career professional in the legal field, but he's also literally one of my best friends from high school. And his name's Ryan Hancey. He's a partner with Kesler Rust down in downtown. And I was first, before we dive into some of the career highlights and what's kind of separated you from all the others to get to where you're at, and through a life and a career full of helping a lot of people, really is how you've gotten where you're at. And really a lot of intelligence, a lot of research, a lot of education, and a lot of unique skill sets, wouldn't you say, in the legal field?
Yeah.
You're kind of a litigator, right?
That's pretty much all I do, yeah.
Now, I'd like to take a little credit for some of your refined skills from all the time we spent together on the hardtop. Arguing.
Okay.
Arguing and battling, positioning bodies, and, basketball backing you down and vice versa. I mean, how long have we known each other now, right?
Well, we met, I think, 31 years ago. And,
oh, my.
And when you say backing down, that reminded me of that day on the playground where we were trying to play a game to 10. And I think it took an hour and a half because each possession we would take, we would try to back the person from the three-point line all the way in. And if somebody poked the ball away, it would start all over again, and we never scored.
We weren't, so Ryan and I both, we met in Murray, where we both went to high school. Ryan was a few years older than me, but was pretty mature. And I liked the intellect. I liked he was a physical guy, and he was also a lot of fun. And so we knew of each other, I think, before you moved to the neighborhood, like where we ended up being neighbors at, before you ripped my brother off on a few baseball card transactions, where I learned a whole nother respect for Ryan and his shrewd negotiations. When I think he ended up with my Mark McGuire USA card somehow that wasn't even Mark's to give you, but it was a fair trade. He just was an idiot, and you took advantage, and I respected that,
Yeah, I think that you probably didn't know who I was before I moved into the neighborhood. But I knew who you were because my brother played in the same baseball league that you did over at the Four Diamonds.
Right.
And so I would go over there, and I was obsessed with statistics because I collected baseball cards at the time. And so if you remember, they had that board up on the concession stand where they would mark the home run leaders. And every time I went over there for one of my brother's games, I'd see Brad Winget, Toronto Blue Jays, up at the very top of the list. And it would show you hitting 1, 2, or sometimes 3 a game. And I said, I've got to find this guy and find out who he is. And I watched a couple of, of your at-bats from a distance, but that was a couple of years before I ended up moving across town into your neighborhood across the street.
Well, I was pretty big guy for my age, wasn't I? I mean, I had some unique advantages from the bloodline.
Let's just say it looked like an adult playing with kids.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was the same age, so should I feel guilty about that? I probably should.
Lucky, probably.
Okay, lucky, and those were the days before Super League, before all the craziness. Everyone played in their little league, and it was like the community came out. Everyone knew who everyone was, and that was awesome. You didn't play baseball, but you played basketball, and you became pretty darn good at it.
Yeah, I played some baseball in Little League, but gave it up early. Yeah, I was more a basketball guy.
You're also, you love chess too. I remember, I don't know, we both kind of learned that game independent, but we have these, even though we came from different backgrounds and we had different passions, there was enough in common that we kind of gravitated toward each other. I think I was a little surprised that we had as much in common that we did.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably played chess 8 times in the last 20 years, and 7 of them have been against you. And so it's not like it's a big thing that I spend a lot of time on, but I think that we're both drawn into that sort of activity, especially against each other, because we're competitive.
Right.
And it's an intellectual exercise.
Yeah. Well, I as I look back around, I think that part of the reason that I really like spending time with you is because you were really smart, and you still are, of course. And you've always been grounded. But, I was over there playing wiffle ball or any kind of sport possible, and you played sports too, and you still do. But you were into the books, and you were into studying and into learning, and you were into what kind of passions did you have that maybe some of the jocks, if you will, didn't quite share sometimes?
Are we talking high school?
Well, we're talking, in the beginning years in high school. Yeah. You were in the weren't you? You were in the choir or something?
Well, yeah, I was in the choir.
Great voice.
Basketball. I ran some track. And then, I liked a lot of, I like and still do like adventurous things.
Yeah.
That to this day, that's translated into canyoneering and rappelling and ATVing and those kinds of things. And so we spent a lot of time. I paraglided for the first time, a week ago.
Holy cow. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, you're an attorney now. Did you have a passion for reading? Did you read a lot growing up?
You know what's funny is I did have and still do have a passion for reading, but the reality is that as you get older and you get more tied up with family and business and work and other activities, the time available to read shrinks, at least it has for me. And the other thing is that when you're reading so much at work, the last thing sometimes you want to do is go home and read some more. And so
seriously.
I've been doing other things.
Well, so kind of getting into your career and from high school, we ended up competing in just about everything that we could. And I found myself arguing with Ryan it was almost like fun for us. Like it wasn't just enough to like back each other down and have a 2-hour game that most people would take like 5 minutes to complete. It was the game of mental like battle. And we were always finding ways to, mentally challenge each other in a physical environment.
Yeah, but we're both competitive, and yours was manifesting itself more in athletics. But think about it. I mean, the whole premise of athletics is competition, and I'm better than you, and I'm going to win, and you're going to lose. That's exactly what lawyers do, at least people who do litigation. It's all about, to succeed for your client, you need to win. You need to have success, and it is competitive in its own way. And so, it was fun to battle, and
but that translated into your career, and oftentimes that does. So we played basketball together at Murray High. That was fun. We had some success.
We did.
We were a little older than the Johnsons and whatnot that ended up taking state, and Britton and Jeff and those guys. But we had a lot of fun playing together, and then you ended up going on a mission, right? Was it Italy?
Yeah, to Rome,
LDS
Italy.
mission.
Uh-huh.
What was that like?
It was amazing. I loved living there. I miss it dearly. The culture, the people, the language, the food, everything about it was amazing. And it was a growing experience too. I mean, you really find yourself when you're dropped off in the middle of a country and you're sort of just learning the language, and you're kind of left to fend for yourself. And you're, in my case at least, you're placed in the middle of people whose families have been Catholics for literally hundreds or maybe more than 1,000 years, and you're supposed to be trying to teach them a message that's different than what they've known their entire lives.
Didn't matter what it was; it's just different, and that's just difference, not what they were in for.
But lucky for me, they were so friendly to Americans. They were polite. They were curious.
Yeah.
They were happy to have conversations and just talk, and it was a great 2 years. Yeah.
Well, you're 6'4", you're a handsome guy. I'm sure that helps, break the ice with some of the, the friends and people that you met there. And you're kind of a foodie too, right? Like, is that where you got your passion for the food stuff? Or, because I remember when we would go home from high school, we'd crack open the canned soup. That was kind of our go-to lunch. But have you always been a foodie, like growing up, or did that kind of contribute?
think that's accurate to call me a foodie. What's accurate is I like eating out. I like good food. I like cooking. And I like trying new things.
So,
but I'm not super snobbish about where I eat.
How often do you cook these days, right? I mean, you're pretty active in the kitchen compared to me. Like I need. We went on a what was it, Thanksgiving one time a few years back, Paradise Village, and Ryan's family. He's got 3 kids, 3 daughters, and I have 4 kids, and we went down, and we decided to celebrate a Thanksgiving together. And I'll never hear the end of this because my wife loves me and I love her fine. And we've been married 25 years. And Ryan's, you guys have been married, what, 20, how many years?
21 now.
21. Oh, wow. So Ryan just was in the kitchen being Mr. Helpful and doing this and doing that, going to the Harmons to get groceries, coming home. Like, very helpful in the kitchen, and you would cook these amazing meals and participate, and you'd put the dishes away and do all these things. And my wife's like, Brad, are you watching this? It's not that you cook every meal or, you're, the Mr. Mom per se, but you were a great example for me.
I know my way around the kitchen. Let's just put it this way, though, with how busy things are in life. I'm the primary cook in the family, I would say, and I maybe cook 3 times a week. So that tells you what life is like in the Hancey household.
But you enjoy it, right? And what's your favorite dish that you...
You know what? I like finding a recipe that looks good, and I like trying to recreate it and then maybe adding a few personal touches.
That's awesome.
And then seeing if the family buys into it or not. And most of the time they do, but I have picky kids, so not always.
You got 3 daughters.
I do,
Ironic, Melissa ran into my wife, Melissa ran into Ryan's wife, Annika, at Fashion Place Mall. Did you hear about that? Just the other day.
Saw each other, a couple of days ago.
And it was just like, catching up, like they saw each other yesterday. Our wives are as close as we are.
Yeah.
Almost,
And that's the sign, I think, or the hallmark of a good friendship is when you haven't seen somebody or talked to them for months or even years. And when you do, finally, it's like you never left. Right. You could just pick up where we left off.
It's kind of cool because Ryan and I have a same age daughter, Ginger, who's 15 or 16?
Yeah.
So she's got her license now. Oh my gosh.
She's driving. Yeah.
Holy cow. Well, Kayla's 15. But they've been pretty close too. So they saw each other at the mall and they hit it off just like, we were down in St. George together. So that was cool.
No, it's great. It's great that they're friends.
Well, and then you got us involved in canyoneering. And boy, that's been quite an experience. In fact, I'm not sure I'm ready to talk about that quite yet, but for my
the near-death experience, right?
My 45th birthday, I decided to talk my wife and my family into going down south with Ryan and Annika and a guide who they've gone on many adventures with, Aaron. And we went canyoneering, but it was a pretty amazing experience. I didn't have quite as much fun as everybody else, but we survived, and my wife and kids have fallen in love with it. Now they would prefer to be a fixture in your trips.
In fact, your wife and kids and their significant others, I think, came on a second one with us.
They did.
Now, you were noticeably absent.
I mean, can't remember what I was doing.
First time. And we won't get into the details, but it did involve you hanging upside down on a 200-foot cliff.
It was.
And that was...
Everything was under control, Ryan.
A little sketchy.
Until we had to rush down, and the guy who promised to hold my rope on the rappel somehow disappeared, and I got a 16-year-old awesome, maybe she was 18, 120 pounds, and I was doing great. Everything was fine until all of a sudden my feet just the cliff or the rocks that my feet were on, it went away, and it was just free hanging. The core strength. I mean, I got some abs under there, but then it was...
Let's just say that wasn't probably the physics-based reason why you went upside down. Probably was more along the lines of some panic and your hands...
were in the wrong placement. So
yeah,
technique,
you took your
panic,
hand off the brake. Yeah.
and then pandemonia or something. And then
it was a combination of different factors, but I didn't help because I did promise you I'd hold on to that rope, and I then got asked to move on to set up the next rappel, and the 20-year-old was not able to cope with your
girth, my size,
when you were not helping with the braking.
Yeah. No. So I literally, I ended up like this, and then I went like this, and then I started to spin. I look up, felt like the whole world is looking down on me. I look down, and I'm still like 100 feet from the ground, and Ryan's right. Did you see the whole thing unfold, or did you see it on video?
I saw the video after, Wow. I was down at the next rappel.
You're one of the few that have seen it, and probably the last, hopefully. But
I did feel badly, and especially now that you aren't coming on any more of our adventures.
Well, I just need to practice a little more and kind of get the passion again, and realize that, I got a ways to go to keep up with you guys. Now, you're, of all my friends, you've probably put on the most muscle and probably maintained your fitness and your health, probably as good or better than anyone that I associate with now. What do you attribute that to? Like, what's your regimen like?
Well, I attribute it to...
It's pretty intense, if I recall.
It's pretty intense. You know what? It's sort of a passion. It's sort of, I don't know, almost, I don't want to say addiction, but it's an important part of my life, fitness. And you know what? What's good about working out, for me at least, is that my job is stressful, and I find that being in the gym for an hour and not thinking about anything else except for what I'm doing right then and there is a huge release.
And you get up at like 5:30 in the morning, don't you?
I get up at 6, and I'm there by 6:30, hitting it hard. And
5, 6, 7 days a week? What?
5 days a week, usually, and then I try to mix in some, like I said, athletics.
Basketball. You played basketball for
I retired 2 years ago, but
Was it after the second, third, or fourth knee blowout surgery, like excessive aggression, or what?
My knees just weren't dealing with it anymore, and so I've progressed to pickleball.
Oh, really? Are we gonna have a little challenge in pickleball?
I would love to.
I kind of play Powerball, though.
No, you just play your own rules. But if we play within the confines of the game, I think I would.
They're fairly confusing.
I think I'd destroy you. Actually.
Like hitting a ball over the net, and then it comes. I can't hit it in the air. It has to drop. I can't cross this line. I can't do this. I can't. And then the scoring's a little bit funky too.
There's like 2 rules. Okay, so it's not that complicated, and I will challenge you to a game of one-on-one.
Uh-oh.
But it's going to be regular rules.
Is this overhand serve, Powerball?
No,
it's the underhand stuff.
It's the real way of playing.
You put spins on it and everything?
Don't worry about that. You'll find out.
Well, now pickleball's kind of become a big thing, so we should be able to battle it out right here in our backyards.
It is so fun.
Where did pickleball start? Is it St. George, or do we know?
You mean for me?
No, like the sport itself.
No, I don't know, but I have heard that it is the fastest growing sport in the country. Don't know if that's true.
Wow. Okay. Well,
and you know what? Honestly, I don't get to play that much because I don't have a court, and so I'm at the mercy of if I get invited or not. But I have been playing about once a week, and it's been great.
Well, that's good. It's less aggressive, and it's a little better on your knees, and you're progressing in that. But I will say, one of the things that I was most impressed with while we were rappelling is that Ryan was usually one of the first to go to make sure everybody else got down okay, and he's a solid guy that way. But he would jump, shing, like he looked like Spider-Man. Like he would boom, 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 and then he's down, and it's like, where'd Ryan go? Oh, he's already down, and I'm just inching off the cliff, like I got my arms and my forearms and my hands like burning, and took me 15 minutes sometimes to get down these
just takes
50-foot cliffs.
Practice and technique.
And it was very scary for me. I might be among the bigger size guys that are guiding. Others have probably.
I think you're probably in the larger
little
side.
spectrum. Yeah, well,
the spectrum. Yeah,
I'll tell you. So Ryan went on a mission. He's 2 years older than me. Senior, I was a sophomore. He goes on a mission for 2 years of service to Italy. I graduate and go straight to Brigham Young to play baseball. You get back at about the same time I'm enrolling in BYU, and you go to Utah State, where your mom and dad, do they both go there? Or
no. Well, both my parents grew up in Logan and went to Utah State when they were in college. But yeah, there was a period of about 5 or 6 years where I might have seen you once or twice.
Yeah. So it's 2 hours away or 3 hours from Provo, right?
Yeah.
So we were both pretty intense, in our studies and in extracurricular activities.
Right.
I kind of liked Ryan in high school because he had a car and he always had good-looking ladies that were wanting to hang out with us, and it kind of was a natural fit. It worked out really good.
It was a very natural fit. Yeah.
I mean, there was one time where this is kind of a funny story about Ryan. I don't know if we should be talking about this, but there's only so many amazing women in anyone's high school, and not that we dated them all by any means, but oftentimes they pair up and some of the better ones go early, and there's a little bit less crop to choose from. So, was it your idea or my idea? Like, how did we get the idea to contact our friends that we knew somehow in different high schools and get their yearbook and get their call book, for all the numbers for each of the students in the high school? And we just started with Alta, and we started with Olympus and Skyline and Hillcrest, and we would go through the yearbook, Ryan and I, and we would challenge each other to find what we felt were the cutest girls in the whole school, and we would find their number, and then what would we do? Was that your idea? It's probably your idea.
I don't know, but it was a genius idea, and it worked very well.
It did work very well.
We had a large
demographic
sampling to choose from. Let's just say, yeah.
So how long did we do that for? It was a good year or so that we.
2 years.
We practiced our skill set that probably helped you in your mission, and it probably helped us in our salesmanship, because we would be calling these beautiful, seemingly women, right, out of the blue, and we'd try not to get hung up on, which happened quite a bit, actually. But our goal was to convince them that they met us through somehow, some way, somewhere, and to continue to talk to us and to try and get them on the phone and ultimately meet up with them to see if they were somebody we were interested in.
It was cold calling. It was just cold calling them and convincing them that we were worth their time to meet up with. That's what it was. That's what I think our goal was.
Not that we're that competitive, but we did, it's not like we were keeping track of who was most successful, but it was pretty interesting. Oftentimes we would be successful, not as much as we'd like, but we'd get a couple of gals or one that would like to meet, and she'd bring a friend, and sometimes the friend wasn't always on the approved list, but she was amazing. It just wasn't somebody we were attracted to, or I was, or you were. And there was one out of the two that we both liked. And then it was who could impress her the most, right? And Ryan won a lot, and he was quick to leverage the old car and the age and the maturity, and we would throw out everything under the sun.
Let's just say that there were some arguments over who should get first pick of the group. Yeah. And
I mean, I got a few scraps, and they were amazing,
I mean, I think at the end of the day, I mean, that's going back a long time, but it made high school fun, and it was just innocent, and it was.
No,
we met a lot of cool people that way. We
people.
Enlarged our circle of contacts, and it was real memorable. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
it was a fun way to meet people.
It was, for sure. I ended up going to BYU with a few of them, and to this day, I mean, they're married off and stuff. I I don't really talk to many of them, but we have a lot of fun memories and stories that we still share and get to talk about. But so you go to Utah State. When did you know that you wanted to be an attorney?
So I started Utah State. I went 1 quarter or term, I think they called them, before my mission. And I think I had signed up as a poli-sci major. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I left for Italy. And while I was in Italy, I had a mission president who had been an attorney.
Huh.
And at some point I was working in the office alongside him, and I'll never forget one day he comes to me and he just turned to me and he said, "You know what?" He goes, what do you plan on doing for a career? And I said, "I really don't know. I'm kind of trying to figure it out." And he said, "You should think about being a lawyer." He said, "I've interacted with you for 6 months now, and I think you should look into it. If you just figure out what your options are when you go back to college." And so from that day forward, I thought, you know what? I had never thought of that before. That is something that I really want to think about doing. I went back to Utah State, and I still don't know how this happened, but my luck, there was a visiting professor who had taken a sabbatical. He was a New York lawyer, and he was teaching 1 semester only or 1 quarter only at Utah State. I don't know, it was fun for him. And I remember that he taught us in a way where we would have to read a case, and then he'd make us stand up, and he'd teach us with the Socratic method, and he'd pepper you with questions, and it was fun, and it was heart pounding, and it was intellectually stimulating. And after I took his class, I immediately went up and changed my major to economics with a pre-law emphasis, and I knew I was going to go to law school after. So that's where it started.
So all it took for you was one guy that saw something that was pretty cool and unique because he had some experience in the legal field, and then one professor, the combination of those two things, and
I was sold.
It was kind of like a mentor in a way with your, the mission president, right?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I think it's a lesson that somebody can have qualities or talents or skills that could be applied in a certain way that they're not even privy to. They're not even aware of something that they could be amazing at or do really well at or have success at because they are not aware of the opportunity or they just haven't thought of it. And then they get a bug in their ear and it can be life-changing.
Wow. Is there a time where you've been able to pay it forward that way? And yeah, I mean, you mentor kids to this day and church service and different things. We're the type that I'm always looking for the best in people and always trying to figure out, hey, to be that mentor, to be that guy that can help people figure out. Kids don't know what they're going to do. I got kids that are 22, 20. They don't have a clue in some cases. They're trying to get through school. They're playing sports. Sometimes it takes somebody that is not in the inner circle to say, hey, you know what? This might be something that's pretty cool and it might change the course of somebody's life. I didn't even know that story, Ryan. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then what? Like after that, you changed your major and you changed your focus.
Yeah, and
by when did you get your law?
Well, so my senior year, I was going to be graduating from Utah State. In the months leading up to that, I started studying for the LSAT, just along with my other collegiate homework. Mm-hmm. I got a score that was good enough that it got me, I went to the U of U Law School.
Pretty good score. You had a pretty good GPA, if I remember. What was it in high school?
In high school?
Yeah, like your cumulative. It seemed like it was much better than mine. I was like a 3.4, 3.5.
It was almost a 4.0, I think.
Oh, come on.
I don't remember exactly.
Shit, what was your ACT score? You remember? Come on.
I don't even remember what that goes up to, or the LSAT.
Don't act like you don't remember, Ryan. I mean, it was really probably up there. Was it over 30? Was it high 20s? I mean, it goes up to 36.
It's 36?
Yeah, I got I think an 18 my third try.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I might have been a 30.
Well, it was up there. And basically a 4.0 student through high school. I mean, did you have any like academic awards or,
well, I got
valedictorian or something like that?
No. I mean, I think I graduated from college magna cum laude. Then I went to the U of U Law School. I did decently well there, I guess. And
so you spent how many years there?
So law school's 3 years long.
Okay.
And the funny thing that most people don't know about law school is that they do not teach you how to be a lawyer. You could literally go to law school and graduate, and you would know nothing about the practice of law from a practical standpoint. What they really teach you to do is think like a lawyer. To think analytically, to apply principles to a set of facts. And so, but if you don't have an internship or a job, or you're dumped into the workplace with not really many practical skills, in my opinion. And so there's a learning curve, but with that foundation that you learn in law school, then, you can get off to a good running start. But it does help to land a job at the right place that's a good fit for you. Right. And there's a lot of different options. I mean, you have to...
How many different things can a lawyer practice? Like have different specialties and stuff?
Look, the number one goal, I think, for every human being is they want to have success, and they want to do something that they enjoy, but they want to be happy in the workplace. And I'm talking about just with respect to a career. If you're going to work every day and you're not happy with what you do, with who you work with, then you're not going to have a happy life.
You spend a lot of time with people at work, almost more than your own family. It's crazy.
That's correct. And so I think that the first thing that a new lawyer should figure out, or even when they're in law school, is it's that old dilemma between money and lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Because you have to decide whether or not there's a range of jobs, right, in the legal industry anyway. You can work at a national law firm, a worldwide law firm. You can work for a mid-sized law firm. You can work for a small law firm. You can open up your own business and try to do your own thing. Right. You can work a government job. You can work a pro bono job. And so, but depending on where you go, usually the trade-off is more pay, more billable hours, less time with family, less time doing what you like to do, right? And then over here, if you want to really focus on lifestyle and enjoying life and going on vacations and having some freedom, then the trade-off is that you're going to be paid less. And so you have to figure out your own personality, what's important to you, where your priorities lie. And I don't think that there's a wrong path or a right path, but I do know a lot of folks who got a job either at one end of the spectrum or the other, and they learned pretty quickly that they had chosen that job for the wrong reasons, and they ultimately just abandoned it and went, and found their niche elsewhere.
So how did you know what law firm to join? Was it close proximity to where you wanted to be? I know you ended up at downtown Salt Lake you're still with the same firm that you're a partner in, right? With Kesler Rust?
I actually was a law clerk at Kesler and Rust. Wow. And I've now worked there for almost 22 years. Yeah. That's been my entire life. That's
one of the things that I love about Ryan, and I try and emulate too in my career. And I got the same cell phone I've had since I was like 18. I'm kind of a creature of habit. A lot of people are, but I want to be a steady Eddie in all the things that I do. And we see people all the time, don't we, Ryan, where they start one thing, I don't like it. Instead of figuring out ways to learn how to like it and be good at it and find things that we enjoy, we just jump ship, and people do that all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, part of it is that they may have just, like I said, made the wrong decision initially, and they're trying to find themselves.
Right.
But part of it though is that I'm a little bit old school, I think, in that I place a very high value on loyalty. And, those guys took me in. They took a chance on me when I was in law school. Yeah. They gave me an opportunity in this career. They mentored me to be the lawyer that I am. I mean, I learned how to practice law from them to some extent. Right?
Yeah. How to make a living. It wasn't just the education and how to think like an attorney.
And how to act as a lawyer, the professionalism aspect, the civility, how to interact with other people and with clients. And so, I feel like
it gave you the tools to succeed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and the company and the business side and all the support.
But having said that, I wouldn't stick around if I didn't love to death where I work. I love the people that I work with. I love the other lawyers, the staff, my clients. It's an incredible place to go into work. And I think it says something when you look around at the lawyers at my firm, and every one of them has been there for, from 8 up to 40 years and have never left. And it's because they've
never left. Like once they come there, they just stay. Huh?
Well, people that haven't have fallen off, but the ones who have been there their entire careers.
That's amazing.
And you know what?
That's very rare.
Well, and it says something for the environment.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing is, Ryan, in the tenure he's been there, I would come down and visit you, for lunch or whatever. And it's a little older, has some character, the building. And all of a sudden, 10 years in, there's this announcement that the City Creek Mall is basically being built all around Ryan. What was that like? That's insane. Like the location of your building that you own a part of, right?
Yeah. We're next to City Creek. Our
right off of Main Street, right?
Adjacent. Yeah, and we park in City Creek parking. But I'll tell you the immediate effect was. It was almost unbearable to go to work while they were doing
construction chaos,
jackhammering.
That was what, 5 years of
it was 5 years
crap?
Of construction. But one of the years was really bad, and it was hard to focus. And I was right by the wall they were jackhammering on for what seemed like months.
And now you have
it's phenomenal.
One of the best malls in the country, there.
Main Street was a ghost town. Literally, you would walk. I'm on First South, you would walk down to Fourth South where the courthouse is on Main Street, and everything was shuttered up. You might pass 5 empty storefronts to get to one business, and nobody was there, and now it's so vibrant and fun and
So how much did we see each other or talk to each other? We were pretty close in high school, inseparable really. I wasn't one of these guys that had a huge group of friends. I was friends with a lot of different guys because it was football season or baseball or basketball season or just friends you grew up with. But it seemed to be cyclical on the season that it was in. But no matter what season it was, we spent a lot of time together. It was just you and me most of the time, wasn't it?
That's what best friends do.
Yeah.
So, that was high school. And then I think we had our 5 or 6 year period of time where we were
setting ourselves up a little bit for
we were establishing our foundations, and we were, in different parts of the world, so to speak.
So what year did you graduate law school and start with Kesler Rust? Do you remember the year?
I started as a law clerk in 2000. Okay. I passed the bar and became an attorney in 2001.
Okay, so I was graduating BYU in 98, and I was in the sweatshop. I don't know if you remember my parents' house that we hung out with. In the back, no AC, no furnace in the winter.
And I was add-on room. Yeah.
In my mind, I was going to be a professional baseball player ever since I could remember. That's all I was going to do. And then I decided to hang him up. My brother played, for 7 or 8 years in the minor leagues, and I decided to hang him up and start a family and start a career. My dad was in the mortgage business, a small business, and it was a good opportunity for us to go in and learn with my brother and my wife, Melissa, who was a processor at the time. So I was just starting to learn how to make a living, who had always just been baseball, got my degree, and now I'm learning mortgages. Well, you were finishing up college then at that time. Do you remember much about that? Because Melissa and I got married in 98. And you managed to hold off a few years later.
Well, so, in 1998, I was graduating with an economics degree from Utah State, and then I immediately enrolled in law school. So that was the next 3 years. And I did.
2001, you passed. You started with Kesler as a full-time attorney. Uh-huh. What was your starting salary like? You remember back then? Was it like $40,000-$50,000 or?
I do remember my starting salary. They offered me $40,000.
That was a lot of money back then. I mean, maybe not for an attorney, huh?
I countered at $45,000, and they said yes.
They said yes.
So that was my starting.
You wish
salary.
you would have gone for 50. I mean, come on. No, I think it worked out.
I think it worked out.
Okay, yeah. So I think the first year in the mortgage business, I think I made about 75,000, and Melissa probably made about 30,000, 35,000 as a processor. And it's interesting how the ebbs and flows of different, career paths can happen. I'm a little bit more of a risk taker, and I've learned a lot of hard lessons as a result of, those risks. And, I've seen some of the highest of highs and some of the lowest of lows. What's that been like? Here's one of your best friends, like you're grinding it out, and you're 2-3 years older than me. You took a 2-year sabbatical doing service, right? Which has served you really well over the years, of course. And here I'm making it rain 75, 100, 200, 300,000 a year, like a year or two out of college, buying, I think I bought 2 boats. Why buy one when you can have 2? A fishing boat, a yacht certified rinker, 27 footer. I built my first house by 21, have a bun in the oven by 22. It's pretty competitive at that age. Like, at least, I don't know how you are. I'm interested to know what that was like, because you've seen me go through the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and you've helped me. I think you can tell that Ryan's pretty even kill, and he's also pretty, he's steady, and you've always just been kind of the voice of reason. I mean, you're a little more conservative, some cases a lot more conservative, but that's served our friendship well, and it's also served our business relationship well. Yeah,
I mean, I guess I'm more conservative than you are, but I would say that I'm more risky than maybe most other people, because of some of the investments that I've done that are extremely high risk. But going back to what you were saying, when I learned that you were making twice my income, honestly, it didn't bother me at all. The only thing that I remember not liking is when you would rub it in my face.
I would do that, wouldn't I?
You kind of would.
Well, was it just that competitive stuff? Like, what would I do?
Well,
that's horrible.
I don't know what your motivations were, but it was annoying.
Oh, well, that's like asking for problems and trouble, It's almost
it just
like
made me not want to be around you, because I had to hear about all the new things you had bought and how much they cost.
Yeah.
You'd get into those
I was
kind of
pretty
details.
arrogant, to be honest.
You were a little arrogant.
I thought
at the
I
beginning.
had the world, the tiger by the tail, didn't I?
But you got over that pretty quickly.
Well, I did. And the reason, honestly, the only reason I got over it is because for the first time, like, I think it was 2007 or 8, I actually had some failure. Like, I hadn't failed at anything to that point, really. Everything I touched, it seemed like it would turn to gold, at least in my mind. Other people would tell me that, like, dude, how do you end up here? And it ends up like always working out somehow. This is insane. Like, how does that even happen? I'm like, well, I work hard. I outwork anyone in the room oftentimes, and willing to take sacrifices, and I'm a little bit more, motivated to do certain things. And so finding family balance and relationships with wives and kids, and sometimes that's been challenging, but it wasn't until the market tanked and I had 45 rental properties that in 13 lots in Riverton and 5 lots up in Promontory, and lost $1 million in a Ponzi scheme, that we were actually, I'll never forget that. You get goosebumps here. And we were driving on our annual trip to Wendover. Okay, we're not big gamblers, and I used to play a little bit more, and you really don't gamble much. But we would just go to Wendover. It's about a 2-hour trip just to talk.
More for the discussion.
Yeah. Talk back and forth and catch up. And it was during that trip that I learned that when the market tanked, no more real estate employees or realtors that used to work for me, or loan officers, they all kind of had to go get other jobs because it was really difficult to get mortgages done and sell real estate in 2007 and 8, right?
The way that I remember it is that I had warned you that the Ponzi scheme had a lot of red flags attached to it.
Yeah.
But on that trip to Wendover is when it was confirmed to you
that you were right.
You were not going to see your money again.
Yeah.
And it was
$1,025,000 total invested, and a large portion of that was my savings and my retirement and my stocks and my cash and my credit.
Dying inside for you. And I remember those conference calls with the guy where you were trying to get information. He was giving you the runaround. And it was just, it was.
You helped me out of my first partnership that went, it didn't go south. We just amicably split. And that was one of the first times that, and we had done some other legal work actually so I can't remember the first case, but when we started hanging out a little bit, I learned that, hey, now Ryan's a practicing attorney. He's not just a legal licensed attorney. He's got a firm. He actually has some experience. And all of a sudden I found myself emboldened almost, like to sue people. I remember my tire comes off on the BMW and I'm like, Ryan, we got to sue somebody. They didn't do this right. And then Ryan's like,
you rented an RV and you wanted to go after the RV company. I mean, there were, we had a lot of.
I was pretty litigious.
Well,
in the beginning stages.
To describe you a little bit.
And then we'd buy foreclosures, right? Me, Mike, and Doug, and our foreclosure company that we did. We'd buy foreclosures at the courthouse, and then the people were there. We knocked on the door, told them, unfortunately, it's time to move. We're here to, give you notice, and sometimes they didn't want to leave.
Right.
And what happens in that situation? 'Cause I'm a real estate guy. I talk a lot about real estate. I bought a lot of foreclosures. What did you do to help us get these guys out? And there's treble damages to these owners that it's unfortunate.
Well, yeah. So we had to figure out how to evict them, following the Utah code. And there are, specific steps that you have to take to evict somebody in Utah. You can't use self-help. You can't just go over there and change the locks while they're still living there, or you can't start moving out their property physically. You know what I mean? And take matters into your own hands. You have to use the courts here in Utah.
And most of them we were able to negotiate with Ryan's help. Hey, here's some walking away money. Let us help you with the transition. Give them 2 weeks, 30 days, whatever. But some of them didn't want to leave, and they weren't leaving no matter what. And that's where Ryan came in and helped us get those out of there. And sometimes we would give them, a judgment that treble damages. And I mean, wasn't often we got paid, but those are the times that Ryan helped us through those complexities that we encountered. And so we did a lot of stuff. They were little things that added up, but I don't know that we ever really lost. Ryan's a winner, and it turned out that his calm demeanor and things like that are he's really an amazing pit bull in the courtroom, but he does it. He doesn't break out the gloves unless he has to. He's solved a lot of cases over the years through finding win-win solutions to avoid going to court and to minimize costs for both sides and to find compromise. I think you probably are among the best at that. And you've referred me a lot of business, and I've tried to do the same in return and have a lot of word-of-mouth clientele. So basically, in 2008, the market tanks. Ryan's, got more business than he knows what to do with. Everyone's suing everyone, right?
Yeah.
You got this nice house, and you're just living conservative, making. At that point, you probably progressed. You're making commissions or partnership dividends off of how well the firm's done. You had great salaries, probably increased, and you just kind of were a steady Eddie in that regard, weren't you?
Well, the recession sometimes works to a lawyer's advantage. I mean, I remember that when things started going down in 2007, 2008, the first reaction by a lot of clients was to file lawsuits. Because
I was among the first to do so.
Well, yeah, because the mindset, I think, was we need to go out and get whatever money is hanging out there. When you're making a lot of money and things are going well, you can afford to let some things go by the wayside. But then you tighten your purse a little bit when things are getting thin, and so people wanted to file lawsuits. But then after a couple of years of that, there was a lag, and then there was cases kind of dried up, because the next move, as things continued to be slow, was to not spend money on legal expenses, right? And so
pay slow and other things, yeah.
And so I moved into some other kinds of areas of practice that would continue to bring in the revenue.
Consistency. And clients said, would always pay their bills, and there was, and you found, was it commercial leasing and property management contracts, and helping a lot of higher net worth guys that owned a lot of real estate with, what did you get into?
Well, I mean, my practice is 99% commercial litigation. And, that word doesn't mean a lot to some people, but it's a broad way of saying that I'm a trial lawyer. I represent people, companies and people in contract disputes, in real estate disputes. I do a lot of commercial real estate litigation work, but tort cases, I've had big products liability cases, and so it covers a broad range of cases. And honestly, the variety is one of the things that I like a lot about my job. I'm not a guy that can really that finds doing something that's repetitive very fulfilling, and so.
Well, and you've helped me with so many different types of cases, like when my brother passed and we got into an estate case, it was, pretty rough for a year. Like, you dove in, and, your attorney's fees were like half of what the other opposing side were. And
I don't know if I'm that good of a value anymore. I mean, my rates have gone up, but no, I'm just kidding. But no, you know what? I mean, but people will pay what you're worth. And my expertise.
You get to the point, though, and you save your clients money by
that's the thing.
That's huge.
Nobody's ever accused me of padding the bill, or of billing unreasonably, or of taking liberties, because that's not. I mean, I would rather have a long-term relationship than than try to take advantage of somebody in the short term.
Well, and as rates go up in your industry, it also is a sign that you're more of an expert in that field, and you get things done a little quicker, and learned a lot of different ways of solving problems, and saving your clients money and bringing things to a head and resolution.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? And when you talk about expertise, I mean, that's an interesting word to me, because a lot of lawyers, I'd say most people in most industries, I mean, when you think of expertise, it's in a certain area. So I'm an expert in trusts and estates, or I'm an expert in foreclosures, or I'm an expert in bankruptcy law.
Right.
I have a lot of knowledge in a lot of areas, but my expertise is in trial practice. My expertise is in somebody coming to me with a problem, and then I talk with them, and I gather the documents, and I will review and analyze the issues, and I try to come up with a game plan that's going to get us to a successful outcome really early on. I mean, you have to identify what the key issues are, so that you spend your resources and time focusing on those, and not going on a bunch of wild goose chases.
And this has been the key to your success of picking winners. Like, you hand pick what clients you want to work with, and what issues that you feel like you can defend or initiate, and have a high likelihood of success.
Well, I mean, there's something about that. I mean, if you are busy enough where you have to hand select cases. You can't take all the work in and do it all, because there's too much of it. That's a luxury. But I think that's what's more important than that is having long-term relationships with clients who trust you, who you'll always be the first call that they make to if they have an issue. You know what I mean? Because they feel like you're not going to take advantage of them.
Right. Well,
and that you'll always treat them fairly. And that's kind of what my practice is. I try to make it about.
Yeah. Well, and when I went through a lot of challenges during the recession, the biggest downturn in real estate that I'd experienced, and I thought I was prepared and sold a lot of properties, had cash and different things, and obviously the Ponzi scheme was a huge setback, and you helped me navigate through some of those things. We ended up getting a judgment against the company, and ended up having some tax advantages of being able to use that judgment to offset, taxes due on future profits from all the businesses that we've started. That helped me kind of rebuild and get back, on track. And eventually we ended up doing some real estate together. We bought a couple of houses in Salt Lake County that were longer term rentals that ended up, we tried short-term rentals is that business. We were among the first in Salt Lake when the market tanked. We had all these houses, we furnished them, and we had homes all the way out on the west side to down south to up north. They weren't always vacation rental type homes on the East Bench, but we learned a lot of hard lessons. Certain houses in certain areas just don't rent as well, and they don't cash flow and bring on, the kind of investment opportunity that we thought. And so we ended up selling those and kind of retooling into, what I feel like was a better way, and that's vacation rentals. And we ended up buying a home together in Paradise Village at Zion, which I was fortunate enough to be one of the co-founders of. And Ryan has always been one of those guys that not only am I talking to as a friend, bouncing ideas off of, but some of these ideas turn out to be great investment opportunities. And, maybe you can talk a little bit about things that you do besides your legal practice that once you get to a certain point in your career, that other opportunities come up and you invest in businesses and have other real estate holdings, and there's a lot of different ways to make money other than.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that the worst thing you can do is put all your excess cash in a bank account and just let it sit there, right? I mean, you have to take some risks, and so
especially now with inflation,
Well, when you're in your 30s and your 40s and even maybe 50s, you're in growth mode, and those are your prime earning years, and so you should take some risks, and then the question becomes, where on the risk spectrum do you want to put all your money in?
Right.
I believe strongly in diversification, and so the stock market's always an option, but if you want to go really high risk, then you could try investing in a startup company, and acquire stock, and make an investment that way. Real estate has been really good in Utah, and I think that it's wise to. My benefit has been partnering with you, who has the foundation and expertise in the industry. And so, you're the one that kind of came back, I think, from a trip to Florida and had this idea of the strength of vacation rental as a business and as an industry. And you were a visionary in that way. And so, and it's caught fire here in Utah. And those have been really, really good investments. And it's almost like an industry that has changed I don't know what you call it, the tourism and the hospitality industry, right? Because who wants to stay in a hotel when you can stay in a home and with another family and have amenities?
And you and your family have always enjoyed Southern Utah. And like you said earlier, you're big into outdoors and stuff. And so when an opportunity came up to own a house together, our families, it really kind of brought us together on a different level, even though we don't travel together as much as we'd like to because of the busy schedules and stuff. But we've done it a few times. But just having a business and dealings together has been really kind of cool. It's given us extra incentive to stay in touch.
Yeah, and how many people do you come across who will say, well, I never want to mix business with family or with friends, right? And that's their mantra. And it's like, okay, that's one way to do it. But on the other hand, those are some of the people that you likely trust the most. And so why wouldn't you want to do business with people that you trust And it does give you something more to talk about.
Yeah.
It gives you reason to get together, to even socialize, to talk about your investment and what you can do to make it improve and maybe the next deal. And so, it's been...
Half our time's talking about investment. The other half's just catching up and having fun together, right? And it's filtered down into our wives and kids. And it's been pretty special. And, early on when we bought one home and then we ended up buying another, you live and learn on different investments. And our first house, very good location, but we didn't do a private pool. We're working on a private spa, and it didn't get off to what may be like the best start, where we did a 15-year mortgage, we've since refinanced. We were pretty aggressive. If we would have done a 30-year, it would have cash flowed, but we did a 15-year. We're paying it off twice as fast. And having a partner was nice because, geez, I used to own all my homes myself or with my wife and I. And part of me wanting to sleep well at night and times is diversifying in risk for me. And having somebody that's stable and steady and like you, Ryan's been really helpful. And so partnerships can be a good thing. And, all of a sudden, 2000, what would you say, 18, 19, and then 20, it's actually right after 2020, COVID hits, and then the market all of a sudden goes nuts. And our first home we bought was probably never worth more than $600,000, maybe $650. We bought it for $435 or we're into $500 or so. It's just been a good investment. We've kind of been trading dollars on the month-to-month rents, right? Mm-hmm. The renter's been paying the mortgage, and we stay there, our families, a week or two of the year, and we get tax advantages and different things. But Ryan's like, Brad, I kind of got into this hoping we'd make some money monthly. Well, when we're paying down a couple of grand a month, on principal reduction, then all of a sudden, COVID rebounds, and what happened to that real estate and the values? It was crazy. The property value is one thing, right? The change in the property value, and then the other is in the rents.
In the rents, and I still don't know to this day exactly what phenomenon changed down in the southern Utah market. But what I do know is that people couldn't go other places that they were used to going out of the country. It was hard to travel. Disneyland was shut down, and people needed to get out of the house.
Southern Utah was a little more lax on the COVID stuff, and I think all the surrounding states California were flooding
handcuffed.
here.
They wanted to get out, and that was the closest available option. And then I think once they went down there, they
fell in love with it.
Well, not just fell in love with the area, that's part of it, but then their eyes were open to the vacation rental experience concept, and it was like, this is so much better than a hotel.
Yeah, we can own, invest, and we can stay here, and then we can leave and have a professional manager take care of everything. And wait, we're getting money on top of our mortgage, or and there's appreciation. From 2020 to 2020, I'd say the end of 21, not even a year and a half. I've never seen anything like it. Not in my 25 years real estate career. The homes doubled and then some. It was insane. And then all of a sudden the rents went up. Now in St. George, it was different. Salt Lake, we had some aggressive policymakers that shut the convention down and kind of shut the county down with travel and different things. And so our vacation homes in Salt Lake really started to struggle, whereas everyone started to pour down at St. George. And our occupancy, I think on average, is 85%. So our rents doubled. On average, they're 45 to 50%. They doubled overnight, and then the values doubled. And who knows? One of the things that you hear a lot about right now, I don't know what your stock portfolio is, and I have a little crypto, nothing crazy, and have, mutual funds and different things, whereas most of my money or retirement investments are more in real estate that I can control and stuff. I don't really have investments in other businesses and different things. I've got enough businesses where I put a lot of my attention there, but you've got all kinds of different investments. But holy cow, like, how do we prepare for a recession or a downturn, or, you know, like, what are you doing, Ryan, to protect your assets and to continue to deploy a conservative approach?
Well, that's $1 million question, because with the recession, I mean, there's so many unknowns, right? You don't know how long it's going to last. You don't know what impact, if we're talking about real estate, it's going to have on long-term values. We know interest rates are going up.
Yeah.
So it's getting more expensive.
They've doubled almost. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and so you don't know how it's going to impact the ability for people to travel, or the desire to travel and occupy the property. And so, you know, it's a little bit of a risky atmosphere right now, but I also am not one to want to just sit on cash.
Yeah.
And so, you know.
And you're what? You're 49? 8. You're 48. So we're still kind of in our earning years. I mean, you don't plan on retiring until when? Like 65?
I mean, I haven't thought
Who
that
knows,
far ahead.
right?
You know, we'll play that by ear. But I mean, the bottom line is that, I mean, what's the common wisdom? If you're a stock guy, then
you don't lose unless you sell on a downturn, right? So you want to hang on to it.
Well, sure, yeah. Until the loss is realized, you haven't lost anything.
Right.
But also, when things have gone down as much as they have, now's the time to buy. I'm sure Warren Buffett is buying up billions of shares right now, right? But you just don't know how much further it's going to go, and that's the rub. And so that's the answer, I think, on stock, I guess. But
I mean, a lot of people believe that, you know, this is when you can add an extra zero to your net worth if you're prepared and if you're ready to strike, and opportunities that will come on when the market kind of tightens up.
Well, and I think you and I are doing that. I mean, we have an incredible opportunity right now up in Summit County or Wasatch County. Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, you know, through one lens, it seems a little bit risky given the recession-like environment that we're in right now.
And it's Benlock Ranch we're talking about, just south of Jordanelle. It's a luxury second home community that Ryan and I went up there one day, and
but it was nothing but dirt.
Nothing but dirt, and we kind of fell in love with it, didn't we?
Well, we saw the potential, and knowing with our background in the vacation rental industry. Yeah. And we've learned a lot of.
We've been on the front end of 2 different projects, and we really benefited from that because we're in at the cheapest price. Well, we get the best lots,
and we've learned what works and what's going to increase the value and the rentability of any home. And so
we've got the zoning, and we know, you know, the all these different things around Victory Ranch and 2A and Promontory. The prices are 3 or 4 times per foot. Then we've got the ski resort coming in. You know, what's that? What's the ski resort called?
I think they're calling it Mayflower, which I believe is maybe an extension or
backside of Deer Valley. Yeah, and more communities, village, and they're basically every piece of real estate all around Jordanelle is basically become insanely expensive and in demand.
Lot prices have gone up every month since we bought in, and so I mean, that gives you a sign. Nobody knows. Again, what is going to happen to real estate values? But you know, I think that it's important to sort of look down the road a little bit. Yeah. And if you can weather the storm, then
that's part of the benefit of us partnering on a lot together, or building a house together, or maybe even 2. And so, you know, if you had a crystal ball, you can say, hey, I can afford to build this $1 million or $2 million house, you know, based on these other investments and this and that, good credit and good financing and things, and having property management and stuff. But you just never know. And so sometimes it's great to bring on a partner that you can trust, that is a steady Eddie and is responsible and all the things that they do, and offers different tools and resources that, you know, different partners can. And so those are things that we recommend for people to do to kind of get into the investing. And even if it's not your everyday job that you derive most of your income, and to find commonalities with other people that you have a relationship with, deploy cash and to, leverage opportunities especially for us. I'm 46, you're 48. I mean, we're still kind of in the long-term game, right? Like 15, 20 years from now, the idea is we'll have all of our houses paid for, homes that we actually enjoy and our family and our kids get to enjoy. They're paid for, they're cash flowing assets already, but they'll have no mortgage on them, right? And then they'll just be residual income and another commonality that you and I get to share, and our kids and our family and posterity get to share. And there's really no reason to sell. Like, we're not thinking on our investments that depending on what the market does, maybe we should sell, are we? We're thinking we got in this with a 15, 20-year plan. We got good financing. We put enough money down. Even on these lots, we're putting enough money down where our payments are manageable. And if we decide to build now or later, we're going to be responsible, and we got good credit and good, we've got the resources and tools to make sure that they're sustainable and manageable. And I think that's part of the secret sauce in weathering a storm. You don't have to do everything, and you certainly don't have to do it all on your own. Partnerships and different things can be a good thing. So now what? Like, what's next for you, Ryan? Like, what's next for us? Like, what do you see your career in the next 5 years or say? I mean, your daughter will probably be married off. She's a cutie. She'll be married off by 22, don't you think? In this day and age.
Who knows?
Geez, who can make it past 22 around here? You've got, let's see, how old's your youngest? Vivian, right?
She's 8.
She's 8. My youngest is 10. And what high school is Ginger going to?
Skyline.
Okay. And all your kids, you think, will go to Skyline?
Who knows? Probably. Okay. That's where we live.
You see yourself living where you live in the is it Milk Creek area? Or you feel like you'll be there a long time?
I do. We really like it. It's close to the mountains.
You've been in your house for what? How many years now?
I've lived there 9 years now.
9. We live in Draper, and we love it too. We've been in Draper 10 years. So anyway, well, thanks for coming on. I mean, I've learned actually things about you I didn't know. It's pretty exciting. I would like to think that we can get more into since basketball is no longer an option. I can't back you down anymore.
Some pickleball wars.
Maybe some pickleball, and maybe some pool basketball.
Let's make it a point to do that.
Okay, maybe some outdoor stuff.
Maybe some more outings with the families, right?
Do you think you can find me a few cliffs to rappel that aren't 200 feet the first time on my 45th birthday?
We could find some novice cliffs.
You hold the rope at least?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will hold the rope.
Anyway, I hope this has been helpful for aspiring attorneys, for partners who are looking to invest in real estate,
investors, right?
Different ideas on how to weather the storm with the recession. I would say just one other thing, and I touched on this briefly in a different episode about asset protection. Like, you have been helpful to me and others on how to protect the money that you make by, like, the homes that we own. We don't typically own homes in our personal names unless it's our own house. Like, it's wise to have an LLC if you're going to be a real estate investor to kind of fire block that.
Yeah, I mean, I would go a step further and say that if you're owning multiple properties, you should consider setting up a separate entity for each property. I mean, the idea is that you want to segregate that property and its associated risks.
Fire block it.
Yeah, as to that property, so that if something happens and it's not insurable or whatever, then you can limit the damage to yourself and your portfolio.
Right.
You can't predict what's going to happen, and so that those are just some simple things. I mean, others would be, not commingling your business assets with your personal ones.
Right.
And respecting the form of those corporations and treating them as such.
Well, you've helped a lot of people set those up, and there's people that specialize in that. But, I mean, do you have any recommendations on who you would refer, or do you have people in your law firm that can help real estate investors or aspiring investors to help set like estate planning and asset protection in place?
Yeah. But I would just say the same thing I tell my own clients is just make the call to me, and then I'll get you to the right person.
Okay.
If it's not something that we do, and there are, I don't know, 6, 7, or 8 attorneys there, and so chances are one of them will do what you need. But if not, then we have really, really good connections in other areas of the law.
Oh, you've referred me to some great attorneys over the years that were phenomenal referrals. So anyway, Ryan, thanks for joining us on the Swingit with Winget podcast. Hopefully it's been a good experience, and we love you to death and couldn't have a better friend. I swear. I'm just very grateful for you and our friendship, and wish you and your family nothing but the best.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Over and out. Today's podcast was brought to you by Utah's Best Vacation Rentals. Whether you're looking for a 3-bedroom townhome or a mansion with an indoor pool, Utah's Best has a vacation home for every budget and occasion. To book your next incredible Utah vacation, go to utahsbestvacationrentals.com. Book direct and save.